Welcome, everybody. This is the meeting of the week of March the 23rd. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, and we are very pleased that you are a part of our meeting, taking in all the little things we have to share about the wonder of Rotary and all of the cool things that are happening for service around the world and in our club based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So we have a group of our members joining us tonight, and I also have a wonderful speaker. I will save her introduction for last because that'll be the one that really launches us tonight. So from one side to the other, there is Shags Shagrin. All right, wave Shags, yeah. All right, Shags, member of our board. There is Mark Doan in Michigan. Mark, say hello. Yeah. There's Keith Marsh, our photographer for the club. Give a wave there, Keith. Excellent. There's John Lozano, who presented the wonderful program last week about Guatemala. Way to go, John, the new Rotarian with Mark there. There's Cecelia, whom we'll speak about in just a minute. And then there is our treasurer, the ever-tenacious Alan. Alan, say to the group. Excellent. My name is Rushton Hurley, and I am the president of the eClub of Silicon Valley. And so anything that you may have as a question about the nature of our meetings or our programs, you're very welcome to contact me at rushton@gmail.com. Rushton is Rushton, R-U-S-H-T-O-N. Okay, so our speaker this week is Cecelia Babkirk. Now, Cecelia is the District 5170 chairperson for the Rotary Foundation Committee. And she has been in Rotary for over 20 years. She is currently with the Rotary Club of Cupertino, and she has done all kinds of cool traveling and activities related to the wonderful service that Rotary does, and has that special insight on what the foundation is. And so for all of our members, we have 28 members, 16 of them are new Rotarians. This is, in a sense, kind of our first full-on introduction to what the foundation is. We're really excited to have you with us. Thank you for being a part of it. And with that, I will hand the microphone over to Cecelia. Cecelia, it is yours.
Thank you, Rushton, and hello, everyone. It's great to be on the call with you. So I've been involved with different activities within the Rotary Foundation in my district and at the zone level and at the international level for probably almost 15 years now, and I've personally authored probably 25 matching or global grants. Now they're called global grants during that time, and I've extensively traveled to see almost every project that I've had a hand in one way or another, because I really believe that a good project is one in which the project champions go and see what's happening. It's all about good stewardship. So before I get into that, and actually I think grants and projects are probably another whole program unto themselves, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the Rotary Foundation, what it is, you know, what we do, the purposes, and things like that. So like all large organizations, and this, I'm not sure every large organization is great, but just like all of them, we have a mission statement at the Rotary Foundation, and the mission statement is that the mission of the Rotary Foundation, so wouldn't you guess, of course I would leave that out, is to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. The Foundation has worked on that mission statement for many years. I've seen several iterations of it, and I think that's the most succinct we've ever had, and it, in a very broad way, describes the activities of the Foundation. Now, there's also a definition, which is the Rotary Foundation is a not-for-profit organization that receives contributions and distributes funds in support of approved humanitarian and educational activities that are implemented through Rotary clubs and districts. And I think that one of the most important things for people to know, and sometimes these things get lost, especially among Rotarians that have been around for a long time, is that the Rotary Foundation is here to serve you and your club. Naturally, like other organizations, they have rules and processes and procedures, But it's the only foundation of which I'm aware that will allow you to contribute money and then go name your own project and use your money among many others in that project. I think that's a really exciting and different way to do things. And I know in our district, our buy-in in terms of our fund development has been tremendous and has increased steadily through the years. And so our purpose is to enable Rotarians through their clubs to engage in activities that support the mission of the Rotary Foundation. And that's really what my job is and the job of the other people on my team. By the way, the Rotary Foundation Committee in our district has at the moment 47 people on it, including a steering committee of 22, but I'm actually going to be expanding that committee so that we can better serve the clubs, especially on the fund development side, because when I sort of inherited this job last May, very late in the action, it took me a while to realize that we didn't have enough people doing what was going to need to be done to continue to raise funds at the level we have, let alone increase. But in the activities of my committee are twofold, basically. One is fund development, and the other is to execute, to do grants and to execute projects. And we're here to help clubs learn how to do that in the right way. So on the fund development side, there are multiple ways to give to the foundation with multiple results. One is, and you'll hear a lot about it as we get into next year, the annual fund. It used to be called the annual giving fund. It used to be called the annual programs fund. It's been called different things. Now finally they call it the annual fund. And this is where we encourage every Rotarian every year to give something to the foundation. And there are many different levels and ways that you can do that. And what that does is it supports the humanitarian projects, which includes scholarships and vocational training teams and humanitarian grants that do good in the world. And so this is where you put your money in, and you can come back out later on and say, here's how I want to use that money. There's also restricted giving, which includes the End Polio Now campaign, which is the current campaign, usually goes on in the spring. Because you're not meeting as a physical meeting club, you might miss some of these things. But if any of you are getting our district newsletter, then you know that we have a Mother's Day card campaign where for $10 a card, all of which, by the way, is a contribution to the Rotary Foundation to End Polio Now, you can support that without spending a lot of money, and also get a very nice card that you can send to your mother, your sister, or any other mother, or even someone who's not a mother but who you want to make aware that we're doing these things. There are also, in the way of restricted giving, the Rotary Peace Centers. And this is something started by Rotary International. Maybe the first class was 10 or 11 years ago. And it supports 6 peace centers, or well, it's really called the Rotary Centers for the Studies of Peace and Conflict Resolution. And it's a program that takes place at 6 universities around the world. It's a 2-year master's degree program. It's funded entirely through restricted donations to that program. And Peace Fellows are amazing, amazing people. I have been around them. They stand toe-to-toe with world leaders, and they help resolve conflicts, and they put themselves sometimes in risky situations. But it's really a great thing, and I would encourage you, if you have an interest in that, to go on the Rotary website and learn a little bit more about it. Of course, you can contact me at any time, and I'd be happy to tell you more. And then we have what we call the Permanent Fund, which is really the endowment fund for the Rotary Foundation. And they are, most people contribute to this by bequest. Although through a bequest you can contribute to the Permanent Fund, or you can contribute to any one of the other things that I've mentioned and more. And it just means that you designate that the Rotary Foundation will receive funds upon your death according to how you set it forth in your estate. And there are many other ways that you can contribute, and different kinds of, they, for example, have what they call area of focus funds. So if you are passionately committed to water and water and sanitation projects, you can contribute to an area of focus fund such as that in the Rotary Foundation. And speaking of areas of focus, and not going to go into a great deal of detail about this because it's a big area, and we conduct whole grant trainings on this. And Rotary has little by little synced its activities around the 6 areas of focus that they want people to work on if you're doing projects. And those are water and sanitation, peace and conflict resolution, maternal and child health, disease prevention and treatment, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. And the photos that I'm going to show you in a little while are representative of some of those areas of focus. But there are really excellent videos on the Rotary website and in Vimeo. All you have to do is type in the search box there, the Rotary Foundation, and there are dozens, if not hundreds, of videos that are very good to watch. And I'm going to work with Frank to get through some of those and try to post a video for you every week, just so you get a taste of what we're doing. I believe, Rushton, last week you posted the general introduction to those area of focus videos. There are actually 6 area of focus videos. And that introduction I find really compelling, and it's very short, 1 minute and 27 seconds. So if you just want to know kind of generally what goes on in those, you can go see that video that was posted last week for your meeting. So that's a very, very, very brief overview of a very multifaceted subject, which is the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation is really the heart and soul of what Rotary is about. I want to say that if you've not been to a Rotary convention and you have the chance to go, by all means do. I've been president twice, not of the Rotary Club of Cupertino, but both times I attended the convention, and then I've attended many others. And it's an amazing thing to sit way up high in one of these big arenas and watch everybody milling around down below and see the plenaries and all of that, and to realize that we are in an organization of 1.2 million people, and we all just meet in our club every week. But from that comes tremendous, tremendous good, including ending polio now, which has proven to be a big challenge. But we are, as they like to say, this close. If we could just get Pakistan and Nigeria, to help out, and they're doing it. They are. We will have that eradicated in the next probably 3 to 5 years. We also, of course, have the Centers for the Studies of Peace and Conflict Resolution. We do millions and millions and millions of dollars of humanitarian projects. We fund, I don't know how many $1 million a year of scholarships. And by the way, scholarships were the first program of the Rotary Foundation beginning in 1947. It was called the Ambassadorial Scholar Program, and it was designed to bring peace to the world by connecting scholars with people in other countries. So the only way you could be an ambassadorial scholar, just like now it's called global scholar, is to do graduate work in another country. So you're not allowed to do it in your own country. You have to go somewhere else. And it's a tremendous program. The humanitarian grants programs are just tremendous, and I'm going to show you just a few of thousands of pictures I have from my own travels, and you can see, of course, many more on the Rotary website. So I am ready to go to the photos if you would like me to do that. Okay, so now we'll see. Let's see if I'm going to get this right. Oh, not quite. Oh.
Sorry, Cecilia, I was distracted by Shags finishing off his wine.
It's okay. All right. So now here, I think I'm going to be able to do this. Come on back up here. Oh, I see it's. Okay.
Go ahead. So Cecilia is the photo viewer up. I think Cecilia just froze on us actually. Let's see. So while she is recovering there, what we're going to do is we are going to bring up the pictures that she is talking about, and I will share them from my screen. And so one moment as I get this set up myself. All right. I suspect we will have Cecelia join us right back here in just a moment. Now, when we talk about the Rotary Foundation, we're really talking about the rather amazing set of programs that are done all over the world to address those areas of focus that Cecelia mentioned when she was talking just before. And so she has been to all of these different places, had a chance to take part in these different events as well. And so let's take a look at some of the pictures that she brought up. But before we do, hey Cecilia.
Yes.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do, Cecelia.
Okay.
I have got the picture up, and I am going to set myself as the presenter visually, but I'm going to have you just start talking. So just tell me when to advance to the next picture.
Okay, so we're actually at the last slide, I believe. So if you can get us to the first slide, which is we build stoves.
Working on it.
Okay. Sometimes this stuff has a mind of its own.
It does. It does. That is part of the excitement of all this stuff. All right. Let me call that up. The issue is that you've got them in your order, and I have them in a different order. That's why. So so let's do this. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you tell me which one you want me to show, and I'm going to cycle through them, and we'll get to them that way.
Okay. So we'll start with.
Here. Let's see. Okay. Does everybody see the picture just fine?
Yes.
Okay. So Cecelia, which do you want us to take a look at?
Okay, I think if you hit the forward, no, keep going. There we go. One more back. Oh, they're really not in order, but keep going. Although keep going. Ah, there we go. That was the one. The first one. Back one. Okay. All right. So this is a photo of me and a group of fellow travelers. I think that's a term from a long time ago, who visited a eco stove project in San Miguel de Allende, which our club, among others, had funded. We believe in partnering with a lot of clubs, and we invite everyone to join us that has contributed, and even some who haven't are welcome to come with us. We have a lot of fun on our project trips. We always visit the project site itself, and then do a little bit of tourist activities as well. So this is a stove factory that was built using Rotary grant funds in San Miguel de Allende. And the idea is, even though that's really quite a developed area, the people out in the area, the rural areas just outside of town, were using propane-driven, regular-size stoves in their kitchen, but the propane is very expensive for them, and yet the area is, it's kind of semi-desert, so there aren't that many trees around for them to be chopping down. In other areas, of course, they would chop the trees down. And so the idea behind this is to create a low-cost way for people to be able to use a stove. These stoves, I have many photos, and this is just the molds that are used to make the stoves. But the stoves weigh about 45 pounds, and you can actually pick it up and carry it out to the side of the road, make tortillas or tamales or any number of other things, and sell them for a little roadside business. And the women in San Miguel de Allende that have purchased these stoves have been, many of them, doing exactly that. So they're improving their livelihoods while they're also not burning fossil fuels. And the amazing thing about these stoves is that about 95% of the particulate matter is eliminated because of the way they're designed. So they're really for use, not only for people to use as a business, but inside of a home, because there is little ash or soot or whatever that comes out of these stoves. So it helps improve health at the same time as it's a stove that can be used to enhance economic activity. And so this was what they typically do in this Stove Team International, was the organization we worked with, is to find someone in a country like Mexico or Central America, and if it's a business owner who's already doing metal work or leather work or something like that, and they seem like a suitable candidate, the grant money is used to actually build the stove factory, provide the molds and all of the other things. And on average, that stove factory will employ 6 to 10 other people. So there's a trickle-down effect, that is, the stove factory owner earns a pretty good living from these things if they do it right. And then the people that work for them, have a living as well. So now, Rushton, if you can scroll on, there's a photo that's a follow-up to this with the bright yellow school building, if you can find it. There you go. And so this particular stove factory owner did well enough that he was able to add an additional classroom to the one-room school that was in his village. And little by little, he's plowing some of his profits back into this school, which is almost always the effect of a good economic and community development project, in my opinion. And so after we visited the factory, I think walked maybe a half mile to the school grounds, and this was the building that the stove factory money built, among other things. Okay, so if you want to go to the next, let's see, look for We Fix Faces.
Okay.
There's like a 1 and a 2. Anyway, it doesn't matter which one it is. Can all of you see? This picture is a really good example of what these kids. This is in Guatemala, so John, you can relate to this. In the city of Antigua, there is a hospital that gives people in our district a week of their surgical ward, and multiple clubs from the district contribute money to a project that we call Faces of Hope. And so a medical team and volunteers from our district go down, and they have a 1-week surgical mission where they operate on cleft palates and cleft lip and palates on indigenous kids. And they do about 100 surgeries in a week. And this is actually a kid who has had one set of surgeries but is going to have a follow-up surgery in the coming year. But if you take a look at the next photo, which is another We Fix Faces photo, you can see that within a few days, this is the last day of the mission, and it is amazing to see the difference in these kids between when they come in and their face is all sort of hashed up from this, they think, kind of genetic disorder. and then they get fixed. And most of these kids would have spent their life in the back of a dark one-room home, ostracized from their community, often hated by their family, who's embarrassed by them because they think that, you know, some evil spirit visited on their family, and now we have this kid who's a freak. And so these surgeries are just life transforming, not only for the kids but for those of us who have been on one of these missions. And then look at the face of this mother. She is really, really grateful. There are 22, I believe, Mayan languages, so it's almost impossible to communicate with the families that are receiving the surgery, because most of them do not speak Spanish. And of course, some of our travelers don't speak Spanish, but but you can tell that this is something that has been really good for this family just from the look of the mother's face. Okay, if you want to move on to Tweenawane.
Yeah, I'll call up the first one of those. We're running kind of short on time, and I want to get to some questions. So
Sure.
let's call up.
Okay.
Let's go to that one.
Okay. So the first of three. This is a big project, about $100,000 in Western Kenya, where the people that are being served are 247 families of people who were internally displaced in the post-election violence in Kenya in 2008, where they were driven from their homes and their farms and their churches, and many didn't survive. And we are doing a sustainable agriculture project in this location. And one of the things that we did on my last visit there was to have a meeting with the village elders, where each of the people on the village council got to stand up and talk about what their dreams and their wishes were, and then we got to stand up and tell them that we want to partner with them to make those things come true. You can move on to the next one of those photos. We'll get through these pretty quickly. This project is both economic and community development and water and sanitation. And if you look at that water, you can see why. We will eventually have probably 20 wells in each of 3 communities. The first part of the project is going to put 2 wells in each of these 3 communities. These people think that that water is fine water and potable, but it's really not. And so we're going to, within 6 months, have 6 shallow wells, 2 in each of the communities, with more to follow. Go on ahead to the next one. And you can see here we have mostly women, but often as children too, and sometimes men, carrying 40 or 50 pounds of wood on their back, which of course they've obtained by chopping down trees, which they're taking back to their homes so that they can have open pit fires in the homes, and that's how they cook. Our project is also going to train each homeowner or landowner to build their own fuel-efficient stove, that will cut down on those emissions for one thing, but also they can use little twigs instead of great big sticks for the fuel, and that will help with the deforestation that goes on in those places. And then finally, the last slide is a photo of 3 women who, if you want to go there, you can go. There you go. These are women in Honduras who have been recipients of microfinance, microloans through a microfinance grant. And you can see they look pretty poor, and they are really very poor, but their lives have been, it's hard to imagine, improved quite a bit because they've been able to get small loan funds and repay them, and they have a 98% repayment rate. They use that money to do things. One of the women bought some chickens, and then she got another loan and she fixed a living room in her house to be a little store, and then she got a motorcycle to do recycling, and now she and her family are like a one-family industrial family in just this most indigent of places. So those are some of the things that I've, just pictures that I've taken in my travels that were all related to projects that we were involved in one way or another. So if you'd like to open to questions, feel free.
Absolutely. All right. So Peanut Gallery, you're on. Wave at me if your question's ready to go, and let's bring you on. All right, Shags. I need to demute, of course.
There we go. We demuted. And I lost my questions. One thing, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, is that what's amazing about the Rotary Foundation all the funds, 100%, are invested for 3 years. And
Correct.
during a 3-year period, all of the income generated from that goes to pay all the expenses of the operations. And after that, 100% of what we contributed as Rotarians is released. So what percentage of our district's contribution generally will come back to the district for our own programs and projects?
Well, every district receives 50% of the funds they contributed 3 years before, and they come back as a credit, and it's called District Designated Funds, or DDF, that's what people, whenever you hear DDF, just think District Designated Funds, and this is money that sits as a credit at the Rotary Foundation, just waiting for us to go spend on projects such as the ones I showed the pictures of. And yes, you are correct.
I've been in Rotary 30-some years, 32 years. So, yeah. I'm a legacy Rotarian, too. So.
A legacy Rotarian, that's great.
And I'm a Triple Paul Harris Fellow, so.
Great.
Shags' program was referenced his introduction to Rotary in the bathtub at age 3 or something like that. So.
55 years ago.
Oh my gosh, a Rotary family you come from.
I do. I have a great uncle who was a charter member of a club in Youngstown, Ohio in 1915.
Wow, that's great.
He was the first one in RI to be working on 50 years of perfect attendance when he died. But yeah.
Well,
no, and he left money to the foundation in his estate. So that's another thing we can do.
Yes.
We can be a benefactor through our estate planning, or name the Rotary Foundation as an insured.
That's correct.
Even with a special policy, folks.
So, do we have other questions from the gallery? All right, Mark and John. Actually, let's go Mark and then John and then Keith. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to start just, excuse me, from as a beginner Rotarian, and I see these absolutely extraordinary programs. Who brings these programs to you guys? Who's out there fishing out, seeing these needs, and comes back to you guys and says, hey, let's take a look at this. This really fits our criteria. This fits our model. And then how does Rotary decide on which programs to start funding from there?
Well, actually, those of us who travel, so I had been to Paris 20 times and over a period of about 10 years. And finally I said, you know, there has to be more. And so, I often travel by myself, and there are places in the world that I wasn't too sure about going on my own. But by that time, I had been in Rotary 5 or 6 years, and I thought, wait a minute, this is a huge organization. There are Rotarians all around the world, and I wanted to go to Turkey, and I couldn't get anyone to go with me, and I wasn't too sure about going on my own. So I said, I'll go find a Rotary project. And so, you know, once you kind of put the wheels in motion, they kind of come your way. And so, sure enough, I met some great Turkish Rotarians. We are like family now. I've done many projects there. I've been to Kenya. I actually spoke at a peace conference in Kenya, and that's how I became involved there. I do work as a member of an organization that's within the Rotary Foundation that most people never hear about, called the Cadre of Technical Advisors. And I audit large grants and do site visits, mainly in economic and community development area of focus. So the picture of the women in Honduras, that was from an assignment that I went and reviewed a project, and this is a part of the world that is so dangerous. You know, Honduras is like the murder capital of the world. Now, I did not feel for my safety, because there's this thing that we like to jokingly call the Rotary bubble. And when you are traveling in the company of the Rotarians in these countries, they generally know how to keep you out of trouble. We want to think that anyway. But, you know, tremendous needs in those places. And after I came back from reviewing that project, I went to my club and I said, I want to support the organization that's doing the microfinance management down there. And so we did. Went to Guatemala on the same trip, and then did the same thing. In fact, I'm in the middle of about the 3rd or 4th project with the Rotarians in Guatemala, mainly involving things that are improving Lake Atitlan in the highlands. I know John knows where that is. And that's why it was fun to talk to the gentleman from Mayan Families, because we've crossed paths with them, and it was good to hear from him last week or the week before. So that's how we find them. And once it becomes known that you do projects, they just come to you. And sometimes it's hard saying, well, we don't have all the money to do every project, so we're going to have to pick the ones we like best. And some of that is a matter of philosophy. Do you want to do projects where it's easy to travel to them? Do you want to solve water and sanitation problems or whatever? So sorry to make that a long answer.
It's all right. Let's get John's question in. I want to get John and Keith's question in before we finish.
Okay. No, actually, it kind of dovetails right on to what you said. Yes, had spending last summer in Honduras and then recently in Guatemala. I mean, those are projects that are well worth anybody's time to get down there, whether Rotarians or not. It's just a needy area. But the question would be more, how do we get to those projects? But more, is there a funding cycle or calendar in which we follow so we know if we have a bigger project one year or maybe the following year a local project and not an international project? I didn't know if that's something their club would have to decide criteria-wise.
Yes. And this is the time to start thinking about those things, because our district has given your club $1,000 of district-designated funds, DDF, to get you started. You can use that for either a district project, which can be either local or international, but usually it's a smaller project. It doesn't have to meet all the sustainability requirements of a global grant and other things. And so Rushton, assuming you're continuing as president next year, you are going to get to decide, you and your club get to decide how to use that money, and you're going to get to tell us by April 30th what you plan to do with it. And we're here to help you with that. The grant cycle will begin for you on July 1st, and if you're doing district grants, which are again the usually smaller, they're not matched, so you might want to trade off your DDF for some cash or something to do, and let your DDF be used as a global grant, or go find a global grant and we'll help you put it together, and we'll help you get other clubs to buy into it. So the district grant cycle runs from July 1st until October 31st. You have to submit an application by that time, and usually we fund within days after we approve the application. The global grant cycle actually is a continuous cycle. We require that you use the DDF within the Rotary year that you receive it. So from July 1st to June 30th, you'll be able to identify a global grant project if you wish, and use your DDF in that, or you can contribute to someone else's project, and hopefully they'll communicate with you and invite you on a trip if they're doing one. And
we'll definitely be getting you help on that for sure. Yeah. Keith, finish us off. What's your question?
I was the foundation chair in my Terra Club for about 10 years, and one of the challenges we had was getting new members to sign up and become a sustaining member. Any ideas you have about getting new members started? We did a kind of a matching donation the first year to get them started. Are there any other ways that you can suggest that we get new members?
Well, we did. Yeah, many clubs do matching, including my own. We will match the first $50 that someone gives with $50 from our club in the first year. I think a good thing to do is to encourage your members to get set up with Rotary Direct, where they can have a small contribution be charged to their credit card or come out of their checking account every month, and it's sort of like out of sight, out of mind. There's that latte factor thing that you hear about every so often, which says if you don't drink a latte every week, you'll have a $12 or 13 or 16 or however many ounces you drink contribution each month to the Rotary Foundation. Some of this is about creating the culture of giving by having a time and financial expectations document that all of your new members buy into, and it's part of their orientation. And in fact, before they become a member, have them be aware you're going to have dues, you're going to have if you're meeting physically, probably some meal expense or something like that. You're going to have, you know, we support, not we expect you to support, because people don't like to hear it that way, but we as a club support the Rotary Foundation. It's our foundation. And so we encourage you to contribute at least $100 a year and more if you can. And make kind of a big point about that you are contributing yourself. And if you have any Paul Harris Society, which is $1,000 donors in your club, make sure that people know about it, not so much to, you know, brag, but just to let people know that it's something that others do, and it would be great if they would do it as well. I don't know if that helps you or not, but
no, all good for sure. So we have kind of run roughshod over our time, but for a good cause, and I'm really excited about having our members get to know what the Rotary Foundation is all about. You're going to be hearing a lot from members. You're going to be hearing a lot from Frank Trapicchio, who has all kinds of wonderful things to share. Shags, man, you and the visuals. And additionally, through the Money Matters program that we add to our meetings every so often, you'll be hearing more from Treasurer Allen. So, with that, members and guests alike, there is a particular way to finish off our meeting each week. Make sure that after you finish watching this, you go to the area of the meeting under this video screen and do the little survey where you put in your name and you respond whether you're a member of our club or not. And that is what we need to have everything set in motion. And then by all means, add a comment at the bottom below so that our discussions can take these ideas further and further and further and allow us to be a part of the kind of service and giving that Rotary is known for. So with that, I want to thank Cecelia for the program. Everybody, let's give Cecelia a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great having you in. You're going to be somebody I contact plenty as we figure out exactly how we want to put our resources to work for the kind of projects that are out there. And gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in and being a part of this. We're slowly but surely getting all of our members, kind of oriented to how these hangouts work, and excited about the chance to just share ideas. So with that, I wish everybody a wonderful week, and make sure you do that survey and comment below. Take care.